Hello and welcome. This is Puneeth Suraana and you are listening to Galata. With you and I have a special guest. Let him introduce himself and what Galata he's been up to.
Hi Puneeth, first of all, thank you for having me at your fabulous show Galata. And the Galata that we are trying to create is that we are Sunbird Straws. We have created the world's first drinking straws from naturally dried and fallen coconut leaves. And we provide employment in the rural areas. We have provided employment to 107 women. And we are replacing 30,000 straws right now. And we want to make the big change globally.
Professor Saji Varghese, welcome on the Galata Podcast. The usual first question I ask is, what were the conversations around dinner table when you were growing up in Chandrapur?
Yeah, so we were in the coal mining areas, and so my dad used to come in the evening. So it would be more of light-hearted humor and fun rather than any serious discussions, except, once in a while my dad would ask me what is my aspiration. So somewhere, because I was in those mining areas and we had seen a bit of poverty that is all around, so somewhere I wanted to touch people's lives. Probably that's why I wanted to be a doctor. Later I realized that I had a doctor's heart but lacked a doctor's brain, and that made all the difference. I became an English teacher. But my elder sisters, both of them were strict disciplinarians. They ensured that we were always on the right track, because she knew that I was most of the time moving around with the children of the laborers, mine laborers. They are pretty rough and tough. But I preferred going with them on adventures, on those little hikes among the hillocks. But it made me a little tough as well. And so the conversations used to be very lighthearted. And then we would just, I think most of the summers, vacations used to be pretty long. So we used to play hide and seek. Even my dad would join us in playing hide and seek. So it was pretty...
In those hillocks?
No, this was in the entire area.
Oh.
We have these rows of houses in the mining areas. So we would be running all around those places. It was pretty chill. I think we had one of the best childhood that we could ever dream of compared to what children have now.
Completely scenic.
Very different.
Mountains and those freshly mined mountains or cut mountains are like silvery aluminum, and then you get these, during the rainy seasons, you get these little
the water bodies, little tiny water bodies,
puddles.
And then even, I don't know, somehow even fishes used to come there from streams.
In those little quarries?
Yes, and we used to go fishing. I mean, not fishing as such, we would catch live fish and put it in our tanks. And that was actually the beginning of, I've written a short novel. It's a novella. It's called Ichthus. Actually means a fish. And one of its
language?
It's in Latin or Greek. Okay. And that is inspired by one of my earliest, anecdotes, incident where I could catch a small live fish. And I wanted to put it in my tanks. It was like a short 2-minute run. So I held the fish in my palm and ran as fast as I could. But then I tripped over a stone and fell, with all my elbows and all bleeding. But somehow I saw the fish struggling. Again, I took it and I put it in the tank. And it was with me for a long, long time. So that was one of my earliest inspirations. So that novel has and my entire journey. And I call it Ichthus. Ichthus also, when you change the word, it also means Christ.
Yeah?
Yeah. So
change the word as in what?
Ichthus, the spelling has the spelling of Christ in it.
Spell it out for me.
It is Ichthus, Ichchthus. Ichthus. Ichthus actually means a fish. But it's also symbolic of, Christ-like, not in the conventional Orthodox religious sense. For me, it is about, your goal. The goal which you want to reach. So Ichthus actually stands for the strong intention for which you just start your journey.
Right.
Yeah, so I think now when you said, all of those came back to my memories. So thanks for making me travel back to my memories.
Yeah, your adventures and your misadventures.
Right. Yeah. So
when was the first time you sold something or you had a adventure in the commercial sense?
Yes. So, and then see how I'm connecting is because that was my earliest memory. So maybe I was in 4th or 5th standard when the entire incident happened. Mm-hmm. And my first business was actually an aquarium shop. And you know that the fish incident of my childhood then connects back to my first venture. We still have that aquarium shop. Of course, I don't have a stake in it, but I've given it to the caretakers who used to be there. But it's still there. So somewhere I see this whole symbolism of fish, running frequently.
Yeah. And you ran an aquarium shop and you also taught in a school English.
I was teaching at a university. So this aquarium shop also, my intention was to provide employment to the youth. And in fact, the boy who was managing it actually was given to alcohol and was almost on the verge of destroying himself. So I brought him to Nagpur and I trained him how to make aquariums. And then he makes the best aquariums in Nagpur, in fact. Now he's all set, he's married, he has a daughter. So I could say that the aquarium shop, of course, it was a misadventure for me financially, but
really?
Yes, but
Why?
it stabilized the life of at least one youth.
One youth.
Yeah, we still are in touch.
Really?
Because I was, I'm essentially an English teacher, so we are more on the emotional level, teaching poems and things. So I wasn't very good with financial management.
You weren't?
Weren't at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that put me through a lot of, upheavals.
Tell us more.
Yeah. Because my second venture was a restaurant.
Oh wow! You're going from one tough business to another
tough business, and that's where the major, mishap happened. Managing the food business is the trickiest, if you know. If you do it
from
well,
fish you went to something very
the
fishy.
aquarium business continued to be there, but just one incident led to the other, and we started this restaurant. And again, my aim was to provide employment. So even the women from abused families and all, I provided them employment there. So somewhere the thread was not only about running a business and making money, but the undercurrent was also always about, am I being meaningful to somebody? So that's how. But then it was a major mishap. And then
what happened?
Yeah, I mean, I was financially, it was not making much money. And then you enter into this debt trap and all of that. Typical, everything has happened. I had to sell my house. I had to give away my car.
You're saying all this with a smile. Now.
It was tough for my family. And no one in my entire extended family also was ever into any business. We are all those, from Kerala, migrated from Kerala. So everyone is looking for financial security. So we were looking, and we were very good. Like, for example, my dad was secretary to the general manager of the mines. So we are very well known to be good secretaries and nurses, teachers. So no one ever wanted to get into something as risky as a business. So I was the only one doing it, and people were wondering why suddenly he is getting into all this. But for me, one thing was very clear, that I was very clear about why I am doing it.
Yeah, you had a
very clear vision about why I am. For example, the women who are working in my restaurant, I was ensuring that they are taken good care. The unemployed youth who are working there, and that probably I took it to some, I just extended it a little farther than I should have done from the commercial point of view. So let's say one of the waiters might say that, my sister, it's my sister's marriage, so I just give them some money. Or somebody would be in hospital from among my staff. So there was no fiscal discipline which is needed for any business. So I always tell I made many mistakes in the venture part of it, but I did not err in terms of why I am doing what I am doing. And that's, I think I believe in a divine leading. I'm very spiritual that way. I'm not orthodox in terms of religion, but I believe there is a divine design. I call it the divine design. And I always lean on to that faith. And then the best thing happened. My daughter reached Christ University. It was my daughter who brought me to Christ University.
Oh yeah? So you had been running the restaurant for a long time?
3 years, around 3 years. In fact, it was one of the most popular restaurants there.
Then what happened?
But only the financial discipline, no? So it's very tricky business. You should really know your costs, your investments, your operational expenses. And I was a little haywire on that. We went into one trap after another. Then my house had to be sold. Even my car was taken away because I could not pay the debt. So, and then because of those things, I came to. So my daughter was already in the second year of her undergraduate course. Then there were some vacancies for English teachers here, and because of all that financial, trauma problem
it is a trauma,
it was a big, particularly for the family. And thankfully, my extended family is very, very loving and caring. So they ensured that I did not end on the streets. They took very good care. My sister, brothers, and even my uncles, and then my friends. They were all there to support. Then I came to Christ University. So I was the call had come, and then I was selected here. And then in that first week itself, I invented the straw. And that changed the whole story.
In a minute. It changed the story, but I want to go back when one person gets into a debt trap. What does it feel like? And how do you handle yourself, your family, your kids?
Yeah, it's very tough. In fact, my son was much younger, so there's a gap of around 9 years between my son and my younger son. Now he's in Christ in his first year of BCom. So my son did not experience that much, but my daughter could sense the trauma. And it was very difficult for my wife, and so hats off to them that they tolerated all of this.
What aspect did they?
Yeah, I mean, in every way. In my brother-in-law, and even my close friends, Chetan, and they all were extremely caring at that moment. So they were just helping me pull off one thing after the other financially. But we lost the house, and which we had built with a lot of, you understand how, with a lot of, because we again were from my parents also, we just began our financial journey and all of that. We were not very pretty well off. So finally we had a house of our own and all of that, and then we lost all of that. We came to Bangalore now. We are slowly picking up things. So that's why my team also, team of Chirag, Sandeep, Jobin, Anup, we are bonded very strongly. It's a larger vision which is going on, taking us forward. So maybe, and they, of course, they know my entire, history. So they know, they can, so there's a high level of trust among us. See, people don't trust each other when don't know about your intentions. So when they know that he has gone through all this and is ready to, put in everything
again
for the larger cause. And today, we are very happy about what is getting created. There's still a long way to go, but it's going in the right direction.
So what changed fiscally for you in terms of the discipline? What did you change now?
Now
I'm started again.
Now I'm at least very conscious about our unit economics, basic things. How much money are we putting in? What is the output coming up? What is our operational expense? So I try to be very stringent on those aspects. So that's a good lesson for us, right? So everything teaches us.
It's a whole new vocabulary for an English professor.
Yeah. So, but it's a story in itself. So
tell us more.
Yeah, I mean, there were very, and the entire, the comical aspect, we would say now, was that, I'm running the restaurant. At the same time, I was always into innovations. I was always coming up with something or the other, and I was teaching in that engineering college there initially. For 9 years, I was in Nagpur. Before that, for 10 years, I was in a very remote village. Again, teaching at a university college, but that was in a village. There, I had observed, I had experienced all this poverty from very close quarters. I would say, though it was a very small little college with hardly around 1,500 students coming there, but they were very aspirational. So my essence as in my vocation as a teacher actually was realized there. So I would be spending almost 36 hours with the students in the village. So first 10 years I was in a village, so I was teaching. So there was no principal in that college. So I was only English teacher teaching compulsory English and English literature to all the BA first year, second year, final year. So I realized that most of the students came from Marathi medium schools and they didn't have any command over the language, but they have opted for English literature.
Because of the commercial.
Because they were very aspirational. So then from 9 to 10, I used to give them free communication skill classes. Then from 10 to 11, I used to give them reinforcement in English literature. So all without attendance and all of that. But in that entire 10 years, not a single day I had less than 80 students in the class, even for these extra hours which I was giving them. But I was really enjoying it because we could really see that you're making a contribution.
And working with students and young students gives you that energy.
Sense of energy, exactly.
That sense of satisfaction.
Right. So then I moved to Nagpur. I was teaching in this engineering college. So people knew that I was inventing new things and filing for patents and all. So at the same time, I'm running this restaurant. Okay. So the funny thing which I was talking about was that we were a little short on funds. So after 4 o'clock in the evening, I would do all the deliveries. We used to get online orders for delivery. So I used to be the delivery boy for my hotel. And at the same time, I'm teaching in the engineering college in the morning. So because of my inventions, I was there used to be stories in the newspapers and all of that. So I used to be invited as chief guest to schools. So there's this very funny incident where I'm delivering the food, and I forgot that I was invited as a chief guest for a big event, the annual gathering of a school. So in 1 minute, I'm a delivery boy, and then the very next moment, I'm the chief guest. And what happened was so the house where I was delivering those students, he was a student of that school. And suddenly they see me as a chief guest there. So those are all very funny incidents. And then what happened the subsequent week, they came to my restaurant, and then the student asked, and I'm there, serving them. I'm serving the food to them. And then the son asked, wasn't you the chief guest in our institution? So these are all very funny incidents of the journey when you take all this journey. So I remember all of that now when you brought all this.
It's so hard to be a chief guest and then be a delivery boy and then be a waiter all in the same day or the evening.
Multiple hats that I wore.
It's not easy at all, and especially in the smaller the village, the
more people know you. So this was my initial part of this entire journey.
People celebrate it after you're successful.
Right.
However, when you're going through it, it doesn't.
Maybe it's only the second time I'm telling this story to somebody.
Second time?
Yeah.
Now I can't copyright it or patent it.
No, but it was off record. The earlier time. So I shared the story, not in a regular.
Okay. Thank you for your honesty. So you lost your house, you lost your car. You had to relocate to Bangalore. Why start again?
As I said, the intention keeps me going, right? So I always say, in fact, one of my major inspiration comes from the martyrs of our country.
Anybody specific?
Yeah, Kargil War. So I'm in touch with the families of the martyrs. If you know, in Kargil War, you had Saurabh Kalia, who was the first martyr at Kargil. He was the first to be captured by the Pakistani army and tortured for almost a week and all of that. Then we have Vijay Thapar. At the young age of 22, he sacrificed his life. So I got in touch with the families of those martyrs. And I always, you have only one life, right? One life to live. Even if you overprotect also, you'll die. If you're very secure also, you'll die. So with one life you have, why don't you try to give the best you can to the world, right? And when I compare myself, I'm in my 50s now, I had a pretty good life. Those youngsters, they have the entire life before them, right? Yet they are ready to sacrifice. And when I met Vijay Thapar's dad, so I invited him to our institution. I spent 2 days with him. That's also just to see whether I can rub off something of, what they sacrificed on. And then he said, you just, and I tell the stories to my classes every year, because he said, you should tell these stories of these sacrifices. So he said, you just have to tell your students that you don't have to die for your country. Just learn to live for your country. And that's very difficult.
Yeah, that's very difficult.
So that's one inspiration. So my intention is very, very clear that, if at all and whenever we start making good revenues, I want to use a major part of whatever I earn for the education of children in the underprivileged sections. That's very clear, very, very clear, crystal clear for me about what I want to do.
The challenge with business is you can afford to do that only when you have a business that is not so ethical and not so sustainability to do it. I've always seen apologies to put it in the right way, but crooks can afford charity. But those who are building things ethically and very slowly and steadily, it's very hard for them to do things at the level that really commercially driven businesses can.
No, I don't subscribe to that fully, Puneeth, because I think I have read a very good book by Jim Stengel.
Okay.
Jim Stengel, he was actually the chief marketing officer, global marketing officer for Procter and Gamble, and he has underlined the essence of those companies which are really thriving for more than 100 years now, on how those great companies are founded on ideals, brand ideals he calls them, the brand ideals. And if you ethically run, as you use the right word, slowly, right? The growth is slow, but you can be very sure that, in fact, I will unabashedly say that I also aspire to be a billionaire, and there's nothing wrong. I would encourage my students to have aspirations like that, and you can do that without exploiting anyone. Right? The satisfaction that I see today is that with the kind of business that we are trying to develop, 107 women are employed in 5 villages. They're working with us for the past 3 years, and they are happy. We are happy. Only thing is that we won't have that kind of big money that those companies can boast of, but our money, we share the profits with everyone, and you can still be happy, except that I might not have a very
but this debate is always there, right? Do you want to be happy or do you want to be rich?
You can be both.
And you can be both, and it's so rare to find somebody that has both and has had it for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, the Tatas are the best example anyways. They might not have the money that the Ambanis have, but they are also, I think they're the one of the best examples of a social enterprise, I would say. In fact, I look up to them. Then there is Colgate is a good example. There are examples to follow, right? So
who do you look up to as an idol?
So my immediate inspiration is actually somebody known as Chuck Feeney, Charles Feeney. Charles Feeney. So he was actually the pioneer of, what is it called, the duty-free shops at the airports.
Okay.
And he pledged his entire net worth to charity. I think around $7 billion or something. And he passed away just a couple of years back. And he lives a very simple life, but he was making good profits. But then he donated all of it. In fact, he deliberately went broke towards the end of his career. He deliberately went. He has this entire charity arm called the Atlantic Philanthropies. It's very well known. In fact, Bill Gates and others are now they are inspired to give away 50% of their income. It's actually, the inspiration is Charles Feeney.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
And why are you inspired by him?
Yeah, see, he says, there are no pockets in shrouds.
There are no?
Pockets in shrouds, so you should give away to people when you are alive. There are no pockets in shrouds, and, poverty is going to be always there. So there's always a scope to make our world a better place. So I have a very pragmatic approach. In fact, I want to be for-profit. As I mentioned, I wouldn't mind becoming a billionaire. But what do I do?
You wouldn't mind becoming I like how you put this.
But what do you do with that billion is what is more important, right?
Actually, I think most billionaires don't have access to the billions. It's locked up in the business. It's locked up in their paper assets.
Yeah. That's true.
It's very rare that you see somebody with liquid
And that's
billions.
why, I'm an inventor, right? That's why I'm an inventor, and I realized that if I can have... So I have big, nice royalty clauses with me. So whenever that becomes big, I can give that part of it to the work which I aspire to do.
That's beautiful. I think that's much needed right now, where inventions are not just hoarded and protected by other Chunumun inventions like a Ford, but rather opened up and given to the public.
So even my business, which has a core intellectual property component, that itself is like a for-profit business, and then whatever proceeds come out to into my kitty can again be used. That's how I look at it, and so that's very important.
So do you feel that because you've gone through the trough of debt on debt.
Horrible trough.
How are you able to get out of it? I'm curious. And while you've got out of it, you've now at a secure place, what I'm assuming.
Right.
And now you feel again, okay, now I can give.
Not entirely though, but I know this entire game.
I'm sure it must be a.
Right. As I said, I was very clear about this is what I have to do with my life. Again, every time I am I don't have a second thought about whatever I'm doing. Many people ask me, do you have any regrets? I never have any regrets because immediately what flashes in my mind is, a Vijay Thapar climbing up the mountains, right? Knowing that he's not going to come back, but he's very focused on what he wants to achieve, or for that matter, Sher Shah, Vikram Batra, right? So I know I cannot compare myself with what they did, but what I'm saying is, when you are clear with what your objective is, and then you know that you are spot on right about your intention. See, for me, it's very clear. My intention is that if I can. So how it all started is I was in Nagpur, and I was waiting for somebody outside the railway station, and then there was this large city drain, the outskirts. And
city drain,
the drain out is a huge drain, and then there were few slum. It was a slum area, and I saw a child playing there near the drain, and I just looked at him and said, I might teach English for another 15 years. How will it make a difference in the life of this one child? We are very financially secure. My wife is working, I am working. You have the typical trajectory of how we move in our families. So I said, I want to do something beyond this to make a tangible impact on the life of at least one child. That's very clear. That image is very clear before me. That's what took me off. And then now here, many students and many people ask me, anyway, now your startup is taking off. Not that we are really there, but it's taking off. Why do you continue to teach? So I just realized that they just missed the whole point.
So they missed the whole point?
They missed the whole point because I never started off wanting to be an entrepreneur who builds a big company. My objective was always, if somebody would ask me, are you an entrepreneur or a teacher? I would say I'm a teacher. And I want to be a role model for the students.
So there's a lot of trainers in my circle or in my Toastmasters club. And I always despise them because they don't really understand the model of the business they're in. Because they think they're in the business of training. But then they go to one corporate train, go to another corporate train. But when I see entrepreneurs, when I get the podcast here, they train their employees, their teams for life. Exactly. And they get to be part of the growth they generate and the profits they generate. Exactly. So I think being an entrepreneur is like teacher on steroids. Because you're giving them an instant feedback along with the market. You're participating. Right. If there's a profit, you share with them. If there's a loss, it's yours.
Yes, exactly.
You have like 100% skin in the game as a teacher.
Exactly. That's exactly where I'm driving the point.
I feel like if you step out of your teaching role, it's hard once you join Christ to step out of teaching role because of the way the Christ is so cushy in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It's atrocious in its discipline and all, I get that, but otherwise it's very cushy and very comfortable.
Right, exactly.
You teach a few people initially, but then you'll be able to teach them for a really long time, a lot of depth.
Exactly.
And you'll make, I feel, you'll make the return over their journey.
Exactly. That's how the journey is to be, right?
Yeah.
So now they have given me free hand. I have started this Center for Social Innovation, which is called Desi.
At Christ?
At Christ.
University.
Yeah, at Christ University. It's under Christ Incubation Center. And so I'm given a free hand, and I've set up this center. It's going really well now. This semester, there are 290 students who have registered who get a hand on different kinds of startup verticals. They work on it. And a few might be motivated to start something on their own. In fact, they're already on the way. And that's exactly what my role, how I see my role is. So I'm just a role model to say, okay, see, this is one startup which is grooming. And then again, we have two students, Chirag and Sandeep, who are now co-founders with me in this startup. And they are the ones who are driving it forward. I just take care of product development, and I'm not into the day-to-day nitty-gritties of the business. But here,
which is what you prefer.
Yeah, obviously. And then here we have students. We are encouraging them to really, challenge the status quo, try new products, try new service innovations. We just launched a startup called UBT, which is actually branding the wandering tea vendors.
Of course. I tasted their tea.
Yeah. So it's going really well.
Yellow cups.
yellow cups. So there again we have. I don't know whether you know about the model where we have women from the urban class, from the lower economic ladder. So we take their kitchens on rent, and the women prepare the tea as per our protocol.
This is the UBT.
UBT, and so many women are getting employed. And then now our students they are helping in the brand building, the brand stories, the strategies. So many students try to get an opportunity to try their hand at different kinds of demands of the startup. And they're so excited to see that, okay, we planned this and then now we implement it on the ground and see the responses.
This is brilliant.
Yeah. So
when I had sat for the interview at Christ, and I didn't realize there were protocols to follow. I'd worn a round neck t-shirt, flip flops, jeans, and I'd gone for the interview for BBA. Okay. I did not know it's like so coveted and all. Others had come in like suit, boot, and tie, shirt, crisp. Coming in from like Nagpur, Maharashtra, Bengal, West Bengal. I'm like, okay. So I show up like this, and I remember the assessment test was there, but you had to write an exam before for the interview. They have I slept half of it.
Okay.
Because it was very hard for a guy like me. Again, he has doctor brain. I don't have MBA brain. I have BBA brain. I have the BBA blood though.
Okay.
So I do this interview and they're shocked because I've dressed like this. And I remember there was a counselor and I was telling them what I was building as a student in my PUC, startup and everything. This counselor looked at me and said, you can't do all of this here. I'm like, no ma'am, I want to do this. You want to do this? I'll reject your application. Like, no ma'am, I'll focus on studies, and I got away. But then I spent the 3 years building the business. From like my college would get up by 4:30ish, and then from 4:30 to like 2 a.m. I would build the business. And I'm so glad that a lot of professors supported me. You'll not believe they supported me in ways that I can't even tell you. Like they knew my attendance was duplicate. But they're like, it's okay, this guy is building something. Let me give him.
So they were supportive.
They were fully supportive.
Okay.
I would submit assignments late. I would not attend a lot of classes. My attendance would always be below 75%.
That's a big problem, right?
Big problem. So I used to spend more hours in the library than in the class.
As a punishment, right? Library hours and all that.
And I was very rebellious. But I'm saying this because now at Christ, startups are being encouraged.
That's so
During my time, you weren't even allowed to. Money was not even allowed to change hands in campus.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. I couldn't do a transaction within the campus. It was very strict, very clear. And I'm very glad that Christ has opened up.
Opened up for giving these platforms for the students.
Totally.
Yeah.
Tell me about this invention. Where did you get this kida for a straw?
After that incident where I felt I should do something more, I happened to read the biography of an African American scientist named George Washington Carver.
Okay.
He's an agriculture scientist. He was actually a slave. He was the child of a slave mother, but he grew up and eventually became a scientist. And his book, it was his biography. And he says, start where you are with what you have and never stop at anything. And he had a keen power of observation. We just walk around and just see some red spot in the soil, and then he would understand that that entire area has dye in it. So he would extract the dye and then get the place painted and things like that. So he has actually 400 patents of different products made just out of peanuts. He's an amazing scientist. So when I read that book,
he was nuts about peanuts. What's his name again?
George Washington Carver. Carver. Carver.
I'll attach the book link.
Yeah, you can put that. George Washington Carver. I happened to read the biography in Marathi by Veena Gavankar, a mother to her 2 kids. So she wrote the biography. She translated the biography in Marathi, and I happened to get that book. So I read that entire book in Marathi actually. And then I realized that innovation is a very, very good way to create, that IP and wealth creating opportunities. And that's exactly what happened. So that was long time back, much before I invented the straws. And
But that was the blueprint.
that was the blueprint. So
Tell me more about the blueprint.
so I would look at anything around and ask, why not this way? Why not only this way? So I invented there back in Nagpur. The summers are very severe. The temperatures touch 47 and 48 now. I don't know, even 58. And so I invented a cooler without motor and all of that. So I was doing all sorts of experiments. So I realized that I could try to figure out a few things. Though I'm not from technology, I don't have a technology background, but
You have an engineer's brain, not a doctor's
I
brain.
don't really think even I have an engineer's brain, because I don't, because my team, their technical team, and their work, I realize that I don't. But we being from the humanities, we have this very creative imagination. That helps, I guess. So I feel sometimes it's a disadvantage to be in core technology because they're constrained by the technology that they learn. Many times I have a feeling like that, because they're 4 or 5 years of engine, so they get constrained by whatever exists. So we,
It's like a man with a hammer. Everything is a nail. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, exactly. And so I realized that innovation is a very good way to create wealth creating opportunities. And then it was 3rd of October 2017. So 2nd October there was a gentleman from Netherlands who had come. He wanted to know something about how patenting is done in India and all of that. So we got talking about single-use plastic straws. He said, it's a scourge to the environment, destroying marine life. And so that was at the back of my mind. Again, as I said, once you give me a bit of a problem, then I'll see whether something can be done. So next morning was 3rd of October 2017, when we didn't have the R&D block. It used to be an avenue of coconut palms. And I know for this for sure that I kept my bag and said, why not find an answer as an alternative for single-use plastic straws? So with that thought, I took my walk. I used to come a little early in the morning in the campus, and I love to walk through the Dharmaram campus.
It's beautiful.
I do that even now.
It's unbelievable how they have managed to retain it.
Yeah. It's amazing the way they.
It's like a resort in between coconut.
Exactly.
People are not aware of it.
Right. So I happened to see that fallen coconut leaf, which had a bit of a curl in it, and it looked like a straw to me. That's when I decided, why not we make straws out of them.
So it's a coil of coconut and you
exactly coconut. The midribs are used for brooms, but the leaflets are burnt everywhere. So I took then I went back to my faculty room. I took a pair of scissors and I cut quite a few of these dried coconut leaves, and I took it to my apartment. At that time I was staying in SG Palya. And then I started, and as I said, I am an early riser. I brag about it all the time that I get up at 3:30 every morning for the past 35-40 years. My bio clock wakes me up at 3:30. Then I started my experiments. I do all sorts of experiments. I say I have a lab at home. Only it is spelled differently. It's spelled KITCHEN. It's a kitchen.
Okay.
So one morning I was steaming it like
Sad
this.
for Liji, she has to do all the cleanup.
Yeah. So I have to clean up everything and prepare a nice ginger chai for her. Yes. Yeah. So that's how I compensate for all the mess that I create. And then, so a nice shine came on the surface of the leaf, and I was steaming it.
When you were steaming it?
Yes. So the dry coconut leaf, a nice
Were
shine.
you trying to see if the hot beverages...
So I always again believe that, you just take a very, chaotic journey in the world of innovations. You can get results. We tend to be very methodical, right? You have all this, research framework and all of that. I just take a very wild plunge into anything, try anything out of it. And then when that shine came on the surface, I then immediately went back to college. I spoke with Father Joby, the HOD of Life Sciences. Can I get 2 students from botany so that they can research what that oily substance was? And he was very generous. He gave me 2 students. So we funded them and we sent them to Kasargod Central Plantation Research Institute to do a research on the epicuticular wax. Now I know it is epicuticular wax. They found it is all very healthy phenolic compounds. And if you know the paper straws that are made, which you get in all the major beverage chains, it is dipped in artificial wax. So here was an agri waste which had a natural wax. And that's how I realized that. And that wax gives it a antifungal property and a water resistant property.
Does it change the taste of the beverage?
After 2-3 hours.
Okay.
It does, because the straw we make actually is absolutely chemical free. It's only a steaming process, and even if you ingest it, it is healthy for you actually. Yeah, so it's a biodegradable product, 100%. So that's how I created the first spiral layered straw. After that, it took me around 3,000 hours I calculated to iterate several designs, and now we have the multi-layered drinking straw.
How did you iterate? And if you're so clear about 2000 hours, you had some method going here.
We put what are the boundaries to it. For example, now when I make the single layered straw, we use a food grade glue along the margin. So it tends to show up outside, inside. Then I said, no, it has to be absolutely indirect. Of course, this glue is the same glue which is used in paper straws, which is totally laced in that glue. So that's why when you put it in a drink, everything actually leaks into the beverage. I didn't want that to happen.
The glue leaks into the beverage?
Obviously, yeah. We can actually demonstrate it. And also the paper straws have those, they look very colorful, right? And all that colors also come into, only thing is usually most of the beverages have some color or the other. So you won't know when.
But these are not food grade colors, food grade glue.
We'll never know, right? Yeah. First of all, it is bleached. Paper has to be bleached. So that's a chemical process. And then they get soggy in minutes, and people don't like it, cellulose feel. So I wanted to make it absolutely indirect contact, the glue, because otherwise we just use a steaming process. So it took me, I tried different designs of making a multi-layered straw. Multi-layered. The leaf, we don't crush the leaf, it's a rolling process. Again, that is very important, because otherwise, nowadays, a lot of straws are coming into the market, plates are coming into the market, where you can use any of this cellulose material, powder them, use some sort of binding agent, which is going to be some chemical. Right? So that's why we prefer to have only a rolling process. And we developed a straw which has an inner spiral layer and 2 longitudinal layers. And finally we got the patent granted for it now. So it's a patent granted, and we also filed it.
So is it a patent that's owned by you and Christ?
Yes.
Or just you?
No, it's by me, but my affiliation is to Christ University. So Christ University also gets to get a few credits for it. So the invention is in my name, but my affiliation, which I show on the patent, is Christ University.
What does that mean?
Affiliation is the address. We show Christ University.
So if you had to license this, would Christ
both get Christ. I mean, of course, we will have a small equity given to Christ because of all the help that they gave, but they are not very particular about that. But it's your own ethical, as in all what you call in principles, we have to give back to the people who supported us. Otherwise, they don't demand as such. So I'm mandated to have any sort of royalty with any company. So anyway, I have started my own company. So it is an exclusive right of the company to use it, the patent rights. But we have filed independent patents in European Patent Office also, and the US Patent Office in Sri Lanka, and we have got the patent search report. So nowhere across 153 countries did anyone try to make straws from coconut leaves. So we have a very strong intellectual property with this. And that is why now...
How much did it cost you to do all of that?
The government fees is very low. You can get the entire thing done in around 10,700 rupees. But usually we hire a lawyer, because there is a lot of technical, legal language that has to go with it. So I usually hire a lawyer, so it becomes a little expensive. Around 45, 50,000, 60,000. But European patent is more expensive. It is around 2 to 3 lakhs. But it's worth, because it has a lot of commercial advantage. We should protect our, and one thing which I would like to tell, if there are some youngsters listening, you should protect your IP, intellectual property. That is very, very important. That's for your advantage, not to be, diffident about it. You should go for it. For example, now we have requests even from Brazil, Philippines, then Indonesia, who wants to understand our technology. So that's where we can bring a lot of value to our own communities, because you have an IP, a strong IP, and IP is valued across the globe. Yeah. So you should go for it. So that's how we have an IP for something as humble as a straw.
So when did you decide in 2000 hours that now I have got the right straw? What was that phase? What was that moment?
So once I made the straw, what I found out was that from one frond, the coconut frond has leaflets. It's a leaf.
Okay.
It's compound leaf.
I'm not a botany student.
Even I am not.
I just like botany girls because they're very pretty and very smart, but that's it.
Okay, so you should visit the botany department for that reason, right? Yeah.
I did.
Yeah,
I was
you
part of the
did.
Green Army just because they're pretty girls. I was like, this is great. These girls are not only pretty, they're smart.
Okay, but then I'll pay attention to the leaves.
I
now.
know. Yeah.
So the compound leaf, it has leaflets. If you've seen a coconut leaf, right? It has leaflets on both. It's a compound leaf, right? So from one leaf, we can make 150 to 200 straws.
Oh yeah.
So that makes it a very
It's a huge leaf.
It's a huge leaf,
Yeah.
right? So that makes it whenever we want to enter into some sort of a commercial venture out of an innovation, it's very important to see whether it is scalable and sustainable. Sustainable as a business, scalable as a business. So when you could make 150 to 200 straws out of one frond, now that's a leaf.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I realized the potential, and I
Frond,
Frond. Frond means a leaf. Yeah. So I realized that if somehow we can make simple devices to roll the straws, at that initially I was making it by hand using a food grade steel rod. I used to roll these straws. So I realized that if I can make small devices to roll the straws.
Just thinking you're really good at rolling stuff now.
Yeah, get a pun intended. Then I thought we could deploy it in the villages, employ women to make the straws. Because I had already shown these straws to many people here, and they were all impressed. They were all happy with it.
The hand rolled straws.
Yeah, they looked pretty good. Even now, like even the pen which I made was handmade at home. So
these ones, is it?
Yeah.
Okay,
They are also handmade at home.
These are handmade at home.
Yeah, this one I made at home.
Yeah.
So that's when Chirag came in. Chirag had finished his master's degree in space engineering, and he came back and he called me up and he said, "What am I up to now?" And then I realized that I told him that I have made these straws. If he can make machines out of it, machines to roll out the straws, we can deploy it in the villages and employ women. And that's when he got very interested. So he was supposed to go to Germany for a job, but he refused to go to that. He refused that job offer, and he said, "I would like to join us and start making the machine." So Chirag is one Christite who is now a co-founder with me. And then Sandeep is another economics major who has decided not to go for any job. So both of them are directors in the company. And
why take them as directors? Why not just make them employees? Why was that choice?
That's exactly, as I said, my larger objective, right? I want more and more students to come up, take up the path of entrepreneurship and provide employment to people. So they should be at par with me, not work for me, right? In fact, in future, I want them to take it forward. And so I think there will be many others who will be looking up to them and taking, because it requires some courage.
Yeah.
It's a long haul, unlike maybe a fintech or an edutech might scale off really fast, but something like social entrepreneurship requires some amount of resilience and patience. So that's again, so Chirag and then another design engineer named Jobin Jose. He resigned from HCL and joined us full time.
How do you hire people like this?
Of course, it was through connections, meeting them, and then with the amount of interest they showed, of course, I asked them to continue with HCL for some time because I said I would not be able to pay you. So he worked for another 6 months or so, and then he joined us full time, Jobin Jose. And see, all of these are examples of great courage, exceptional courage, because Jobin is already married, he has a kid. But they showed that courage, and they believe in this entire project and mission. So they were the ones so Jobin, Chirag, and then another engineer has joined us. His name is Anup. They developed the machines. So we had the initial tabletop machines, which were deployed in the village of Madurai, and we employed 6 women. We were making 70-80 straws a day. Yeah. And we would be then trying to sell it here in Bangalore. And eventually now then we started getting good traction.
That's so small quantity you still got.
Yes. Traction? Yeah, we could. So there was one person from the US he said, once you make the straws, we are ready to buy as many you can send. So we realized that there's a potential. That's when Chirag and all, they said, so it took 45 seconds to make one straw with those tabletop machines. They were simple mechanical devices.
Still only 80 straws a day, is it?
70, 80 straws, yeah.
With 6 women.
6 women, because there was this
looks
leaf,
like a half an hour job.
leaf but there's leaf processing also that has to happen, right? The leaves have to be taken and then they had to be cut into uniform width, and then they had to be scraped, and the actual straw making is made from the processed leaf, right? So,
but the pre-processing
it takes time. Yeah, took time. So then now Chirag and the team, Jobin Jos, they have developed a conveyor system. So they can now make one straw every 2 seconds. So that's a big jump from 45 seconds to just 2 seconds. And now they are actually...
But the pre-processing is still the same?
No, even there we have brought advanced machines. So it's pretty fast. Now they do, I mean, I just got report yesterday, they do 30,000 leaf processing in a day.
30,000
leaves
are processed in a day?
In a day.
Oh, from 80 leaves? From half a leaf?
Half a leaf, yeah.
Come
so
along.
So again, hats off to the team which does all the magic. And now they are coming up with a spooling system,
What system?
Spooling, it's like a reel. Okay. So the leaves, are thin leaves, longitudinal leaves, they will be stuck end to end. So that it becomes like a long ribbon, and it will be rendered into spools, and it will be fed into an automatic machine. And then probably we can probably make one straw every second. So already we have touched around 30,000 straws per day now. We'll be touching around 1 lakh in another 3 months per day. Also, the best part, ours is an example of a very fine balance between technology upgradation and yet bringing more people to work. Generally, if you upgrade technology, you put people out of work. But the sheer numbers that are needed gives us this privilege.
What do you need more people for now?
So, you just because the orders which are now getting, potential orders are humongous. So, it's just about having more assembly lines of these upgraded machines.
So, where do people come in then?
So, people are still, so let's say now from end to end 20 women are needed. Earlier, to make this 1 lakh straws, we'll have more of these machines, because now, for instance, from the Benelux region itself, the orders are to the tune of 2.6 million straws every quarter. So we can just multiply our upgraded machines.
That I understand. You're upgrading the machine by asking where's the human involvement.
So anyway, the feeding has to be done in the leaf. Now it's more, the women's roles are more about the feeding mechanism. So they're not into, and also the inner layer is a spirally rolled. So that again requires human intervention. Now it's more about the feeding system, and then towards the end there is this quality check that happens, packaging that happens. So we need women, but we can always put more assembly lines. So it's a nice study of technology upgradation and still keeping it rural, and not like you have a huge machine and just one person operates like it happens in the paper straws. We don't want to go to that level of technology upgradations. So that's how we have now reached the situation. We have 5 production centers, 1 in Kerala, 2 in Tamil Nadu, and 2 in Karnataka.
How much does it take for a single production center? How much investment?
That's around 10 to 15 lakhs. Again, that's a low invest. 10 to 15 lakhs. That's again a low investment machinery.
So have you raised funds?
No, not we are bootstrapped yet, but thankfully, right from the beginning, we were at least strategically, smart in that we kept taking part in competitions.
That's how you have the whole laundry list. It's like a big bazaar bill. Like, oh my God, what is this? Every single institution, incubation center.
Yes, we are there. So it was a very deliberate choice. So
this is tax-free funding.
To remain bootstrapped. And thankfully, we have a very nice story, and it's a very genuine story. There's no washing done at all, because. So the story is really, really genuine. We are really creating an impact. So that's how the Swiss Re reinsurance company came in. They funded us initially with 15 lakhs, and now again they are releasing a fund for us. Selco Foundation did it. HDFC Grant did it. SIDBI did it.
How do you get to know about these competitions?
Of course, we have a team. I mean, 2 people who are always on the lookout for competitions.
2 people, really?
Every day they look, not full time. Evening they spend some time looking at competitions. But for example, thanks to NSR Cell, they had an impact orbit program. They called us, asking us to apply.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's very good of them. And then there are several, in fact, Selco Foundation also, it was recommended to them that this is a good company, and they called us and asked us to apply. Even the last date was over, I guess. But they were very generous about this. And then again, we won an award in Mass Challenge, Switzerland. Of course, that we ourselves applied.
So if two people scraping the internet always looking for what
Chirag
contest.
does it, Sandeep does it.
Nice.
And whenever
They've
I
taken
come,
the festing culture global and have used it to fund.
yeah. So we always used to keep getting funds. That's what kept us going, because otherwise, see, we are not even we haven't broken even.
Not yet?
Not yet. It will take another 6 months, because the technology R&D requires a lot of money. 107 women are employed with us. Their salaries have to be paid. So we are bringing down the cost of production. Earlier it was 3 rupees. Now we brought it to 1 rupee 20 paisa. But we will
straw?
be per straw. We will be bringing it down to 70 to 80 paisa. But after that it will be quite an effort to bring it further down. Paper straws are sold at 70 paisa. But then the edible straws and other straws are at our price range only. We have the hay straws. We have bamboo straws are still very expensive, more expensive than our straws. Then you have the edible straws. Edible straws are also sold at our price.
1.2?
1.5. 1.5 to above. But even a good quality paper straw would cost 1 rupee 20 paisa. Yeah. So we are almost there. But then for, in the B2B business, even that 5 paisa, 10 paisa counts a lot. So it's a tough nut to crack to be particularly in the bigger chains. For instance, PVR Inox was very interested in our product. And in fact, they were so happy they wanted to introduce in all their 360 multiplexes in India. But the price is definitely a very genuine concern for them, because paper straws, they get it at, I don't know, 50, 60 paisa. They were ready to go even up to 1 rupee. But even a 50 paisa increment, because their requirement is 14 lakh straws a month. So it's very genuine what they talk about, because it's a heavy operational expense. PVR, I know, though they sell their products at 400 and 500. But
they have like 2,000-3,000% margin.
Yeah. But still, when you look at the overall operational expenses, it's very huge for them. So in fact, their food segment is more profitable than the tickets that they earn from.
They're in food business, and they also do movies.
Yeah. So the whole point is, I think in the next 6 months are very crucial for us, where we upgrade our technology and then bring down the cost of production and enter the market at a more competitive price. But there's a good demand. The best part is that it's a good problem to have. We have a supply problem, not a demand problem.
It's a good problem to have. Yeah. You have more and more demand coming in. Do you think demand will continue to increase?
It will, I believe. Yeah, and also our product is getting more and more efficient, more aesthetic. I don't know whether I told you that we now make the straw from the cuticle of the leaves. Earlier it was like the full leaf. I think I showed you this is the
brown,
Yeah, so we can do this for the coconut leaf.
This is coconut leaf?
No, this is pandanus leaf. So I now make from pineapple leaves, pandanus leaves. I can extract the cuticle. So this is again a patented system. If you see the leaf, you wouldn't know that it is from that. It's a transparent layer. And the straws we make out of this can be used multiple times. 50 to 60 times. Yeah. So the straws also will be more aesthetically pleasing. It will be efficient as well. So this is what I do at home. I keep developing new products.
I'm wondering, do we really need straws? Why can't you just
No, you should have said this when the plastic straws were in the market. But now we would encourage you to have a straw for several reasons. One is that people ask why to use a straw at all.
Why not?
So I would have been happy if you had raised this alarm when the plastic straws were in the boom.
The idea was to get sustainable, and then now we're just too narrow focused on replacement instead of reduction. Like we're replacing fast fashion with sustainable clothes, which is also again coming towards fast fashion. You're replacing normal food with organic food, but you're still eating at like 4-5 meals a day and are still keeping up the same lifestyle.
Right.
It's like I want to maintain the lifestyle. I want to try and maintain the cost of the lifestyle, but I want to have the sustainable label. But why not look at simplifying
No, so
Why
now when it comes to our straws, we have a strong case against whatever you have said right
against
now.
my? Oh, okay.
Because the moment you are using our straws, please remember that we are the only straws which are made from an agri waste, which would otherwise 100% be burnt, which would have led to a lot of carbon dioxide emissions. So now, and then the kind of employment that it is going to generate. So now you have a very
once you look at 1 lakh straws a day, that's about 30 lakh straws a
30
month.
lakh, but we will reach
That would completely reverse the economics of what is waste in a coconut tree, what is usable. You understand?
You mean the waste? We won't have enough leaves?
No, I'm saying the economics will completely transform.
Yeah, that's exactly the whole point, right? So now I would advocate using it because again, rural economy, right? It's imagine out of these 107, hardly 7 or 8 had any income at all in their lives.
They were mostly doing the BD rolling and all of that.
No, nothing. They were particularly, let's say in Bannur, none of them had employment because their families didn't want them to travel long distances. So
they do it from home?
No. So we have these production centers very close to the houses because it's a totally chemical-free process. So we have this production center set up very close to their home. Except for 1 or 2 ladies who have to walk 20 minutes, all of them it's within 5 minutes. So they go home for lunch in the afternoon, come back, fetch their kids from school, and then they have some income. I'm not saying we are paying them very high at this point.
How do you pay them? Do you pay them?
Earlier we used to pay them fixed salaries because the straw production wasn't that fast. But now, when we have this conveyor system, they themselves want it incentive based, per straw price, because they get paid for every straw they make. So now we started by paying them 120 rupees a day and all of that. Now they are touching 320 to 380 rupees. And yet the cost of production for us is still down. It's still going lower.
But the volume still rising.
Volume game helps there. So so now I would encourage you to use a straw because there's so much of joy you're spreading around, right? Employment, preventing. And then, we did a survey of 15 villages in Karnataka and we interviewed around 90 farmers and 5 lakh coconut trees. And we asked the farmers what they do to the fallen coconut leaves, except at one place where they were powdering it and putting it back to the soil. They were burning every place, they were burning it. So I see that we can drastically reduce the carbon dioxide emission footprint. So it's a strong case why you should use a Sunbird straw.
Why should you use a Sunbird straw? How do you take care of your health? You're so clean and trim.
So
and you wake up at 3:30. Why do you do this to yourself?
I enjoy it. I can't think of sleeping beyond 5. If I get up at 5, I feel sometimes when relatives and all come and we go chatting up to 12 because usually I want to be sleeping by 10:30, between 10 and 10:30. But we end up sometimes talking. My brother comes from Delhi, then we keep chatting till 12. And I tend to get up at 5, and I feel I'm very late. So 5 for me is very late. I don't think I have ever slept beyond 5 because except for these exceptional cases. Otherwise, my bio clock just wakes me up. Today I got up at 3. Then
what do you do?
So I have my private time. I just read the Bible and have my meditation and make tea. Tea is my passion. I make chai, good chai, ginger ilachi chai.
At 4:35?
3:30,
Oh, good God. Go on, sir.
And then I just have a plan to do my product analysis.
Is that very intentional that the morning hours you've cultivated this habit to
Yes, because I'm a little precautious in the sense that I like to work alone. I like that silence.
That a lot of inventors like to be by themselves.
First of all, I'm not an inventor per se because I do very simple things. So I wouldn't categorize myself
still put 3,000 hours for a straw.
Yeah. So I like to now have learned over the years after all my mishaps.
For all you know, you're a better person in rolling than Bob Marley. So, jokes aside.
Yeah.
So, it's a serious business.
Yeah, exactly. Because I say that I pay attention to things which people don't pay any value or attention.
Right.
So my focus is that. For instance, now I'm looking at the coconut vendors who sell their coconuts by moving on bicycles. You've seen a lot of them, right? So we are trying to come up with a very strong intervention for them. So no one pays attention to them, right? So I already conversed with almost 9 of them, understood their problems. So I do an entire deep dive into the problems. And now I share it with all my students and see what all ideas they come up with. And I say the floor is open. And even I see a huge business opportunity there.
Like what?
See, I always say that India's business is on the street. You just need to give it that more better fairness. For example, I mentioned the chai that we started, UBT, right? We started from one tea vendor I saw at Madiwala at 12 in the night. So I'm a tea addict. I like the ginger ilachi chai. So before boarding, my bus was at 12 in the night going to Kerala. So I want to have one sip of tea. And I went
for satisfaction.
I feel I'm not missing anything. And then I went to this person. I saw this person. He was here. He was like a wandering vendor.
On a bicycle.
No, he didn't have bicycle also because he commuted from 8 kilometers away. So then I spoke to him. So first of all, I was disappointed with the tea because these tea vendors are usually sell substandard tea. It was too sugary, watery. And then when I spoke to him, I realized that he's a tailor during the day. He works as a tailor, and then he stays 8 kilometers away just to supplement their income. So he prepares tea, travels 8 kilometers, sells here till 3 in the night, and then goes back home. That got me thinking, like, this person doesn't have a product standardization, there's no brand visibility, there's no visibility. His flask hygiene is suspect. It's a milk product. We don't know whether he really cleans it with hot water, which is very mandatory. Then I got back to my students and said, we need to do something about it. That's how we made bicycles. We even have those bicycles which are painted, and all of that. And it's working well. At least the pilot looks very, very
I'm glad promising. I unknowingly researched about this episode because of me wandering in Christ.
Is it?
And asking everybody, what is this? What are you guys up to?
Right.
I'm glad, please continue.
So now we can make strong intimacy. So I pay attention because obviously I don't have intense technological know-how. And then we can always get the support, right? We have Jobin, Chirag and all of them. But I can pay attention to these things which no one is paying attention to. And there's a huge potential there.
Tell me more about why do you think India's businesses...
I'll just give you an example. When we won the Mass Challenge in Switzerland. So I was in Switzerland for 3 weeks with a cohort. Last July. First I was there in July, then again we went in October. So I met this gentleman from Switzerland. So we exchanged pleasantries, and then he asked where I was from. I said I'm from Bangalore. He said, oh, I was in Bangalore 3 months back. Then I said, what brought you there? He said, we are trying to make a machine to make aloo parathas.
A Swiss guy making aloo parathas?
Switzerland, a company is actually making it. And then he said, for 3 months I was in Bangalore, then I went to Punjab because I wanted to know the difference in the aloo paratha made in Karnataka and the one made in Punjab. They see the potential in India. Making aloo, who would have thought about making aloo machines for aloo parathas in India? How many? I don't know if there's anything like that. Then there is another, in my cohort there was one of the startups which is into poultry feed. And he's talking with Indian broiler. So then I realized that the world is looking at India. And for instance, we did that entire customer profiling of the wandering tea vendors, coconut vendors, wandering coconut vendors. Almost everyone is above the age of 45. So obviously, it's not going to be taken up by the next generation, right? But like 3 days back, we spoke to one person who was selling tender coconuts. He just brings and places on the footpath. When we spoke to him, he told that he initially, for almost 18 years, he was actually the same wandering tender coconut. Now his back has started hurting. So he has started it on the footpath. But he was making more money while he was commuting. Then I realized that, so there is a huge opportunity there. And if we can tweak that entire business in such a way that there would be takers from our younger generation. It's all about how we
now
can...
you have Country Delights and all of them.
So
they're doing this at a scale.
Yeah, Country Delight, they have huge funding. They're sitting somewhere, right? And again, this was also inspired by my daughter ordering. She orders tender coconut. She was ordering it from Country Delight. Then I started. Then when I went down, I saw a bicycle tender coconut wala moving. Then I realized that we stay on the 8th floor. So at 8th floor, my daughter is ordering from Country Delight because she doesn't know that there is a coconut seller right at the apartment. and the tender coconut seller doesn't know that there is a customer up there. There are huge gaps. So if you can revamp, bring technology, online, seller connection.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
There's so many things that can be done on the streets of India.
I agree. There's a circle right outside my house.
Okay.
And there used to be an old auntie selling tender coconut. Now her sons have taken over. So one son sometimes sits here. He has 2-3 branches of coconut locations, corners he's found. So he keeps moving and he has his persons there. The elder son has taken over a truck. He has a huge truck, fills it with 1 lakh coconuts a day. Goes to all different areas in Bangalore, supplies 1 lakh coconuts.
Supplies 1 lakh coconuts.
And every year, we got 1 Griha Pravesha from them. They build a new building, they call for the Griha Pravesha. But it's a huge business.
They
are financially independent.
Now.
They make lakhs of rupees in rental income a month.
And second thing I found out was from this wandering tender coconut, the guy we were speaking to, he has to shell out 40,000 rupees a year to get the waste disposed.
Oh, so you get the BBMP bribe.
Yeah, BBMP doesn't take it.
Oh, then?
So he has to hire a private vehicle.
Yeah, so he also does that business also. He has 2 business. So one truck, he's very smart. He's divided it properly. So the new coconuts, he gives you from the side. The waste, he takes it from the front. So he's able to double time the truck.
So that's
forward logistics, reverse logistics sorted.
And there's a lot that can be done with the tender coconut waste.
Yeah.
Because it has a lot of fatty acids in it. So we are looking to see whether we can come up with
They use it here as well. What they do is they dry it and then it goes in a lot of these boilers.
Cocoa peat and all of that. Yeah.
So a lot of people still in Bangalore use it for boilers and all of that.
And fiber is going to be the next big theme in sustainability. Fiber.
Like fabric fiber?
So we are looking for organic fiber alternatives. And all of this is fiber.
I don't know.
Because pineapple fibers are in huge demand.
Yeah?
Pineapple fiber. In fact, it is imported at $7 or $8 a kg. It has very high tensile strength. So people are looking, and even in the civil construction, they are looking for microfibers to prevent all these micro cracks. So there's a lot of lookout for new, eco-friendly fibers. And when we were again in Switzerland, there is this guy, his name is Lucas. For example, all this Colgate and all has this white pigment, which is, I forget the name of the chemical term, which is very, it's
with F, right?
Some chemical.
Yeah, the one that generates the bubbles.
Yes. But they have now developed a white pigment from cellulose, all these agri waste. Doing amazing, and they got some $1 million of Swiss francs as a grant. So there are so many things where we need to start paying attention, and we being an agri-waste country, we can have solutions, not just always to convert it into, as you mentioned about using it for combustion. It can be actually converted into real value products instead of just burning them all the time. So that's what I enjoy doing, exploring what little things we can do.
Yeah, you've become an authentic Malayali now because you're nuts over coconuts.
Over tea, chaya, and all of that.
I'm glad we had this conversation. I want to do a rapid fire round.
Yeah, okay.
What's one autobiography? Because I feel you read a lot of autobiographies. Do you?
Yeah.
What's one autobiography you'd recommend everyone to read?
I was very impressed with Ida Scudder's autobiography, one who made the Christian Medical College, Vellore.
Spell it out for me.
Ida.
Ida?
Scudder. Scudder.
Okay.
That really impressed me because again, that's a story of big sacrifices. Christian Medical College, Vellore is one of the best colleges and people look up to. But it was a story of great sacrifice. So I realized that, for great things to happen, someone has to become the stupid guy.
The stupid guy.
I always tell...
Someone has to lose his house.
I tell my students
before they get their monument.
That we have too many smart people around that, a lot of things get unnoticed. We need a few stupid people who are ready to take the entire...
Yeah, it's unusual, right? Where those who have the education don't have the courage. Those who do not have the education or learning have the courage.
Yeah.
And there's always a gap.
There's a gap.
Yeah.
A huge gap, yeah.
Any other autobiography you'd recommend?
Then, of course, I happened to read Joseph Mueller, people. So it's mostly, I think, maybe the biography of William Colgate. It's an amazing story. William Colgate, though, we just think it's a page, but it's William Colgate, the man who created that entire industry. Gillette is a very good story. So I do listen to a lot of podcasts.
What's a podcast, movie, or series you would recommend?
3 Idiots is my favorite movie.
This is the second time 3 Idiots being recommended today. Okay, come on, give me something new.
I watch it for more
an underrated one.
Then
you watched it what?
I watch it. I think every time I watch the entire movie 60,
That's
70
a comfort
times.
movie.
Yeah. And Shawshank Redemption is another big movie of mine. And how you can be so confident about long-term vision.
Yeah.
I compare it to my journey to a large extent.
You do?
Yeah, because it was through that tunnel, that drain pipe that he has to swim across to save to freedom, right? So I'm swimming through the straw.
That you hand roll.
And when I resigned from that engineering college, it was exactly the same number of years he has to be in jail.
So you served your time. Nice.
I would now say that, but 3:30 when I get up, sometimes I just watch those excerpts,
those clips.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because as you asked me, how was that initial time and was into all those death trap and all of that. So I need something to keep me moving, right? Otherwise, you wake up with all these panic attacks and all of that. It's tough. It's not easy, right? So you don't know where the next.
How much was the debt, if I could ask?
It was a few lakhs. See, most of it was served through the sale of my house. So you can. It went that bad actually. So.
Okay, now we're on rapid fire. Don't slow my pace now.
Yeah. So I said, what? Shawshank Redemption is my favorite movie. Otherwise.
Nice. What's the latest or the most recent purchase you've made under 10,000 rupees that you'd recommend?
That's a rapid fire. I haven't purchased anything of that sort, I think.
Any gadget, gizmo?
My daughter gifted me a phone, so I don't know.
Oh, the iPhone?
Yeah.
That's not below 10,000, sir.
No, that's about 10,000. That's about 10,000.
Below 10,000.
Yeah, below 10,000. What
you can't make an iPhone below 10,000 unless she's in dirhams and all.
No.
Rupees.
No, I haven't made a major purchase, seriously.
Oh, you haven't?
I haven't made.
Okay, very frugal. We're very financially disciplined now.
I'm financial. I don't calculate, but yeah.
You don't still calculate?
No, my personal thing. Company, I'm very stringent, but
not with your person.
Not really. I believe, I mean, that's not a good thing to recommend on a podcast, but I feel if you calculate, you will get only by calculation. But if you don't calculate, you will get it in abundance.
Okay.
Your entire life is all in calculations. It's all because you have small mental calculations you do. Right. So some, I don't know, again, I would not recommend it, but I have this tremendous faith in something much bigger. So I believe in the law of abundance.
What's the law of abundance?
The law of abundance is there's so much for everyone.
Yeah.
We end up, let's say now I get a job and I get a salary, then my entire calculations are around that salary and we limit ourselves, whereas we have this potential to expand so vast. I believe in that. See, if I come from a lower middle class family, all my journey should have been, okay, you got in fact, the first 10 years where I was working, it was actually a pensionable job. I was invited to take that job and it was a UGC appointed position, and maybe 7 years back, if I had even resigned, I would have got a pension for the rest of my life, right? So, the day I decided to resign from a pensionable job, after that pension stopped. So every second day I was getting call from someone or the other, why are you taking such a rash decision? Who gives up a secure job and all of that? But I always believed that I need to find myself. That I need to find myself was a very big statement. I think I just made it without thought probably, but had I just taken that, I would have been there with a very limited opportunity of, we call it, there is a circle of concern and there is a circle of influence. Right? So the more you widen your circle of concern, you narrow down your circle of influence. So you reduce your circle of concern, you can increase your circle of influence.
Yeah, I love what Velumani sir said, ThyroCare's founder.
Oh yeah.
2 weeks ago at a conference. It's like, if you do everything, you can only do it at one place. If you do one thing, you can do it everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah. So I think that's a simpler way of putting it.
Exactly.
If you had to throw out a challenge for a week to the listeners with a hashtag, what would it be?
Okay, talk to as many people as you can. Try to increase the, that's what I would do.
How many a day or a week?
Maybe 10 people each day.
10 people each day. Okay. Yeah. So hashtag.
Hashtag talk to 10 people each day.
Hashtag talk to 10 people each day. And if you do it, at the end of 7 days, you'll have 70 new people. Create a post on LinkedIn, social media, tag both of us, and we would love to reply back. Where can they find you?
We are on Amazon, we are on Flipkart, we are on our own website, and then you can call us directly if you want a bigger number of straws from us. I know you won't pay, it's a low engagement product, right? Lower customer engagement product, and you won't pay attention to a straw, but you should start paying attention to a straw if it is a Sunbird straw.
Yeah. What's the impact you seek to make? You're at 56?
Yeah.
Right now. You have another 44 years remaining to hit a century. I'm going to hit a century in 6 days, but
6 days. Yeah.
You have 44 years left.
Yeah.
What is the impact you seek to make?
So our first target is actually to provide employment to 1,000 women in the villages of India and replace 10 lakh straws every day. That's our immediate goal. After that, we are very audaciously ambitious. We want to be all over the globe, in all the continents, making straws and spreading smiles along the way.
Making straws and spreading smiles.
One straw at a time.
On that note, go and make some Galata.